live from Tennessee, from the east to the west. We are talking Cowboys everything. And you just entered
the Cowboy Zone.
Welcome back to another episode of the Cowboy Zone. I'm your host, Marcus Jones, the Bluff City Cowboy, coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee. As you guys can see today, I'm riding solo for a few minutes. My co-host Lambo had to take care of some personal matters, but he'll try to join us at some time before the show ends. So today I'll just be holding it down solo, and we're still going to have a lot of great content to give you guys today as we break down last night's game, as well as look ahead to this Sunday's game against the Cincinnati Bengals. So what's up, William Coulter? Thank you for joining us. Jack Meeker, thank you for joining. Jeff, appreciate you coming in as well. I know you just finished the podcast yourself, so I appreciate you coming in and supporting. Yeah, Jack, I'm not going anywhere. I mean, I know it's not Victory Wednesday like we expected, but the show must go on. Still a Cowboy fan. Still got to talk about it, good, bad, or indifferent. Lamar 1986, thank you for joining us on YouTube as well. Man, that was a terrible game. And, of course, as we start off every show, before we start, yeah, I saw you made a post about that, William. You were almost there. So before we start, make sure you like this. Make sure you share it. Share it to your personal page. Share it to your favorite page. Even though I'm riding solo today, we're still the Cowboy Zone. So we're still going to bring you that Cowboys news and notes and insight into the games. Yeah, we're definitely not going to give up on them. This is just one setback. I mean, I've been a Cowboy fan 30 years. One bad season is not going to sway my loyalty. And if you guys remember the dark days of the early 2000s when we were going 5-11 for it seemed like forever, this is just one small sample size of that. The difference between then and now, we can kind of see why we're doing so bad. Back then, it was just a horrible team. Now, it's pretty evident why we're doing what we're doing. So we still have optimism for the future. But until the end, we still have to talk about the here and now. Hey, Mom, thank you for joining tonight as well. Cole, thank you for joining. I'm glad you guys see I'm riding solo and you're still coming in and supporting. So I really appreciate you guys. Again, Lambo should be joining us at some point. But if not, I know you guys are going to bring that heat in the comments like you always do. So keep bringing those great comments, those great reactions and feedback, and we'll put together a great show as always. All right, Board of Life, thank you for joining on YouTube. That's a new name, so I appreciate you. Colonel Bill, thank you for joining tonight. And we will talk about this a little bit as well. So, yeah, Mendoza, thank you for joining. Appreciate it. All right, I see you guys all coming in, so we're about to get started. Again, make sure you share this. Share it to your personal page. Share it to your favorite page. We got a lot to talk about in terms of last night's game versus the Ravens, as well as this Sunday's game against the Cincinnati Bengals, which is a game I've been looking forward to for quite a while. Oh, yeah, I understand. The Noles are playing, being a diehard fan. I'm shocked you even came in, so I appreciate you even peeping your head in for a few minutes and seeing what we're talking about. Yeah, shouts out to the Star Gang. Podcast game. We're all a family. We always go back and forth on each other's shows. I'm a regular on theirs. I have them on as much as I can. I know you guys know BJ Nix, who's over at Star Gang. He owns a store, so that kind of takes his time away. And the reason you guys probably don't see them as much as you want is because he's at the store quite a bit, and I think the day they do the show is the only day he takes off. So whenever those guys are free, we try to have them in here as well. But yeah, thank you guys for that. So let's get right into it because I know we got a lot to talk about. So we're going to start off first with our game recap of last night's game.
Game recap.
All right, so last night's game against the Ravens. Everybody going back looking at the scores, you guys were all pretty close to what the score actually was. It was a lot of 30 to 10s and 31 to 10s and 31 to 17s. And the score actually turned out to be 34-17. It started off a lot closer and looked a lot better at the beginning than I think a lot of us anticipated. We had a lot of things going our way offensively and defensively. And then, in typical Cowboys fashion, it all fell apart in the fourth quarter. And here we are. So, first off, I'm going to talk about a few positives from the game. There are a lot of reasons why we suck so bad, Cole. We only have an hour show here. I don't have enough time to cover all the reasons why we suck. And also, like you said, Cole, I've been saying this for quite a while. It doesn't seem like the team plays for Andy like you would expect. And I feel like it's a lot to do with his body language. And I was going to talk about this later in the show, but I'll go ahead and say it now. This game against Cincinnati is going to really tell us how committed and how much Andy Dalton has the locker room. As you guys know, we're playing Cincinnati. This is going to be a rivalry game for him. I believe he played there for 13 years. So he knows the team inside and out. And normally when a guy plays his old team, it's usually a little bit something extra in the air for that player and the guys around him. Everybody kind of plays to make that guy look good. I know you guys are probably fantasy guys like me. One of my strategies is always, no matter who it is, if he's playing his old team, I'm going to start him. And that's because they always try to make sure he does well. So if they come out and we don't see them with a little bit of extra juice, like we saw with Garrett Gilbert a couple weeks back, if he doesn't like he has a little extra juice, we'll kind of know he doesn't really have the confidence of the team like we would want him to have. Yeah, and Jack, we're going to talk about that as well, about did Reggie get on the field, because he did not. So game recap. First of all, I like to start off with positives because even though the game looked ugly at points, there were a few positives we could pull from this game. You talked about the Dez jersey. Game started off, Dez couldn't play. He tested positive for COVID right before the game. Still don't understand that rule. How can a guy practice, get on the bus, be on the field, put on his uniform, and then 30 minutes before the game you test him and he's positive? First of all, I don't know why you would test him at that point. And second of all, I don't know how the game wouldn't be canceled when a guy tests positive who was literally on the field. But again, that's a story for another day. So the first positive, I gotta point out, Colonel Bill, you can't let it go. That's definitely true. And William, we're gonna get to that one as well. First positive, the offensive line. We give them a lot of flack, but they played a very good game against a very solid defense. And if you guys remember last week when I talked about the Ravens defense, I said it would be an issue because they like to run a lot of zone blitzes. That means they're going to have a lot of guys standing up at the line. They're going to bring blitzes from everywhere. And I thought with the way our line was in terms of the shuffling and the inexperience, that there would be a lot of confusion. But surprisingly, they all played well. And Jeff, like you said, Terrence Steele in particular played very well. I believe he had a PFF grade in the 70s, which is really good for a tackle. I believe it's 2 weeks in a row he's had a good grade for Terrence Steele. Also, we only gave up 1 sack, and that was in the interior against Connor Williams, Joe Looney. It looked like they missed an assignment kind of on a combo block, and the D tackle got inside and got a sack. But other than that, very solid game from the offensive line. The running game looked well. Zeke almost had 100 yards. had over 4 yards a carry. Um, they were giving Dalton as much time as he needed to get the ball down the field. So I got to give props to the offensive line. I know we've been kind of hard on them the past couple weeks, but this lets us see that maybe these young guys getting experience is finally starting to pay off. And maybe we have some decent depth going into next year if we run into some of the injuries and stuff that we ran into this year. So hopefully Terrence Steele keeps his head on straight, keeps playing well. He has another opportunity for another good game this week, and we'll talk about that later on in the show. Yeah, you guys are putting some great comments up here. Yeah, that would be amazing if he ends up coming up. But we still got Brandon Knight as well. So if Tyrone Crawford comes back healthy next year, you can always put Brandon Knight at the right side. And Cole, we'll talk about this one in a minute as well. Let me get through these two positives because I see you guys are ready to hop into the negatives. Let me hop into this second positive real quick. Talking about the offensive line, the offense was moving the ball well last night. Andy Dalton had a solid game. The receivers were breaking out their routes, getting open, taking what the defense gave them for a change. There were some questionable calls in the red zone and on third down as usual, but for the most part, they did what they had to do to move the ball down the field. And last thing I want to talk about is the special teams because we've been very hard on Tony Pollard all year in terms of kick return. Yesterday, he broke off a very long run, almost went for a touchdown. And after that, you can kind of see his confidence kept building because he kept bringing the ball out and he kept getting returns that were going back farther than the 25-yard line. I wish I knew why they won't give a PI call to CD. It's just one of those things. Like refs don't respect us, it seems like, and they don't respect rookies. They're always gonna give a veteran guy the benefit of the doubt. I'll have to go back and look at that play. I don't remember what corner that was on that pass interference. I think it was Marlon Humphreys. And if it was, he's one of the most well-respected corners in the league. That's something we see all the time. We used to see it with Josh Norman back in the day. Darrelle Reeves got away with it a lot. Jalen Ramsey gets away with it a lot now. Whenever a guy gets that reputation of being a great corner, especially when you're going against a rookie receiver, they're always going to hold that flag a little bit. Yeah, his kick returns have definitely gotten better. All right, so out of the entire game, those are the three positives that I got. So now I'm able to dive into all this stuff you guys keep posting about. And the first thing we definitely got to talk about is that kicker. And Cole asked the question, do we ditch him or do we let him slide? And those guys who didn't catch the game last night, which I'm sure all of you did, Greg the Leg, I got to put quotes up now, the Leg, Zerline was 1 for 4 on field goals. He missed a field goal from 40 yards, from 52, and from 50 yards. Now, those are pretty long kicks, but for a guy who's supposed to be one of the best all time, you don't expect him to miss those kicks. And I was looking at a stat. This was the first game in 4 years that he's missed multiple field goals. So leave it to Dallas. We sign a kicker, and then he starts to miss a bunch of field goals for the first time. And talking about Kyle Forbath, I don't think he's on a team right now, but they're paying Greg Zuerlein so much money. I doubt they bring another kicker in. I know Cole asked the question about, do you think we keep him? I was checking out his contract, and he signed a really big contract this year, but they can get out of that contract in 2021. If they were to cut him, the team would save $2 million on the cap. So just knowing that and the fact that he hasn't looked that good, I would be highly surprised if he's on this team next year. So I think we stick with him this year and let him audition for his next job. If we keep him here, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, because if you look at this team, the way it's been going this year, the coaching staff has been consistently sticking with guys who are underperforming and making excuses for them. So I wouldn't be shocked if they do the same thing at kicker. But yeah, that was definitely 9 points that were taken away. And when you mention that, that takes me into my next negative, and that takes me into play calling. Now, I was on the show with Stargame last night, and Jay Tuck, shouts out to Jay Tuck, brought up a great point. Looking back at last week's Thanksgiving game, in a game that we were close in, 4th and 10 on the other team's 30, and we're going for it, and we're doing fake punts, and we're doing little silly, cute plays. In a game against the Ravens that we were all expected to lose, we're not going for it on 4th down. So coaches can say we're playing the average and all this and that and analytics, but they're not being consistent with it. In that game, we were pretty much getting whatever we wanted from them outside of penalties and that one turnover off that tip ball. We should have been going for it a lot more on 4th down. And I'm not talking about fake punts. I'm talking about line the guys up and let's run a play with our receivers. Because CeeDee Lamb clearly had the edge against that slot last night. Amari Cooper clearly had the edge against Marcus Peters last night. Michael Gallup clearly had the edge last night. Those guys were playing well, and the offensive line was blocking. So to me, it never made sense for us to be 3rd and 4, and then we go 5 wide and throw a screen pass, which, by the way, has only worked one time all year. And they do it often. Like, it's almost a given to me when I see 3rd and 4 and I see them go 4 or 5 wide. I know it's a screen pass to Gallup or CD every time. So to me, Zeke was running well. Let's just assume we're going for it on 4th down when it's 3rd and 5. Let's run it with Zeke, see how many yards he can get us, and then let's work with that short field, that short down and distance, see if we can get it. But instead of that, they kept going for field goals, even after he missed the first one. He missed the first one. I said, okay, we'll give him a pass. He misses the second one. All right. Anytime we pass the 50 and it's 4th and 5 or less, we're going for it. Yeah, and that's a good point too, William, because Dalton looked a little shook last night, and I don't even know why, because the line was blocking well. There were several plays where he rushed the throw, or he rushed it, either didn't let the guy break, like on that 3rd down after we got the interception where he missed Michael Gallup in the end zone. And then there was a couple of plays where he was throwing it to the wrong route early, and then if he waited, the second route opened up. Like for example, the Zeke Elliott pass. When Zeke went down the sideline and he had 3 people on him, if he would have just waited for 2 more seconds, CeeDee Lamb had broke wide open on the left side. He didn't wait for it. It was a lot of plays like that. Yeah, and that's another positive. Brown did good too. Brown always does well when he gets an opportunity. He just doesn't get opportunities. But yeah, a lot of things do have to change. Danny Hufer looks like a new name, so thank you for joining us as well. We really appreciate your support. Make sure you like whose ever page you're on, and make sure you share as well. Dennis Rivera, I'm just going back to some of the old stuff. Mendoza, you're right. Jay Lou played well. And that's going to take me into another one of my negatives in a minute, talking about Jay Lou. And I don't think Randy Gregory's hurt. I think they're just limiting his snaps. One of those crazy things, like I just said, which will lead into my other negative. I can pull it up right now and I can tell you how many snaps he played because he clearly didn't play as much as he should have played. Randy Gregory played 13 snaps in yesterday's game. It was the second fewest snaps of all the players that played. Huffer, okay, got it. Danny Huffer. But yeah, Randy Gregory played the second fewest snaps of all the players on the defense. How does that make sense? And that's leading to my next negative. I'll go ahead and hit that one and then come back to my third one because you guys know what the other negative is. So I don't have to talk about that one much. And that's the run defense. But yeah, talking about usage of players. And I'm glad you pointed that out, Dennis. Randy Gregory's coming off a 2-sack game. And he plays the second fewest snaps of all defensive players. Let that sink in. Darian Thompson played more snaps than Randy Gregory. Rashard Robinson played more snaps than Randy Gregory. And Mendoza brought up Jay Lou earlier. Rashard Robinson actually played more snaps that game than Lewis played. Jordan Lewis. That doesn't make sense to me. And then we talk about, I know you guys were excited like I was. Reggie Robinson was finally active. Donovan Wilson's out. We think we're finally going to get a chance to see our young rookie get some snaps. He played 0 snaps. He didn't play defense or special teams. What would make the coaches play Rashard Robinson, a 4th-year journeyman, over a guy who you drafted, who was a highly touted college player? We make mistakes like this all over the defense. And I don't know how these coaches choose who they're going to wave the flag for to get on the field. But to me, that's the biggest problem with our defense. I know people like to talk about the scheme. The scheme is an issue, but it's not the biggest issue. Outside of somebody like D-Law standing up, I don't see any problems with the scheme. It's about guys with their assignments and putting the right guys on the field. Randy Gregory should have played the whole game. It makes no sense to have Randy Gregory play 13 snaps in a game like that, especially when you're playing against a fast quarterback. Randy Gregory is our fastest defensive end. A lot of those runs were Lamar Jackson just ran past D-Law and Alden Smith. Randy Gregory could have got those plays, or at least could have slowed them down. Hey, congrats, Mendoza, on your team winning. I know you're probably jumping up and down right now, but he should definitely be playing more. On top of that, we need to see what we have in him and guys like Reggie Robinson, because we're going to lose a lot of guys next year, and these are talented people, and we don't know what they're going to do. Now, my last negative, of course, is the running game. We gave up 294 yards. They had 3 people who rushed for over 30 yards in one play. That's almost impossible for that to happen. How do you let 3 different guys on one team get a 30-yard run? And you're right, William. LVE definitely looked lost, and that's really surprising. But if we go back to the Rams game a couple years back, you remember he got pulled with that game. He got pulled with this game too, because Sean Lee played quite a bit in this game for LVE. Jalen looks 2 steps too slow. There was no gap integrity, and our safety play was just abysmal. The safeties were coming down playing like linebackers, and they were not filling gaps. Oh, it's just too many things to talk about, but we got to put that game behind us. We're 25 minutes Thank you guys who are still here for joining us. Make sure you keep getting in the comments because now we're about to move ahead to Cincinnati. Um, Again, make sure you guys like this. Make sure you guys share it. Let's keep those comments coming in. You guys have been great so far. Let's keep the train rolling. So now we're about to move ahead to Cincinnati, and we'll start off. We don't have any major storylines going into this game because our game from yesterday was just played. So there hasn't been a lot of looking ahead talk yet. So let's start off with key matchups.
Key matchups.
All right. So there was definitely no gap integrity in that game. And they all look kind of lost. But I feel like this week is going to be a better game for us. So first of all, let's talk about some of these matchups that we have going into this game. Now, the first one we got to start with is the Cincinnati Bengals running game because we got torched by the Ravens. The Bengals, they're not going to have Joe Mixon, who is their big time running back. He's been out the past 5 or 6 weeks with a foot injury. So they're going to rely on Samaj P. Ryan and Giovanni Bernard, who is a dual threat running back who's been in the league, it seems like forever. He's pretty good inside the tackles, and he also can cause some mismatches in the passing game. But looking at their receivers, he hasn't been as effective in the passing game. So I'm just hoping we can shut down the run this week. Should be a good game for us, I think, in terms of all of these key matchups I'm about to talk about. The next key matchup that I want to talk about is their receivers. Now, this is where it gets interesting. And Mendoza, like you said, him and J.D. McKissick are two very good examples of running backs who are dual threat. I think they probably will use them that way because they do have Brandon Allen playing because Joe Burrow's out for the season. So I do expect them to do a lot of quick passes, but their receivers are so talented that they may not rely on him in the passing game as much. And yeah, like I just said, William, they do have Brandon Allen in their backup playing. Yep, you know I'm a Clemson fan, so you know I was about to talk about that. So my next key matchup is their three receivers versus our corners. Now, their three receivers are, first of all, they got A.J. Green, who's been very quiet this year, but he's still 6'4". He's still explosive. He still has a strong vertical. And he has the ability to make plays, especially when you look at the way our corners played the past couple of weeks when you got guys like Rashard Robinson as starting outside corners. I don't know if Anthony Brown will be playing. I saw a report today that said if they were to have practiced, he would have been limited today. So that's a good sign. But assuming he does play, all three of those guys are going to have their hands full. What's up, Bobby McLean? Thank you for joining us. Lambo still hadn't joined us yet. Hopefully he'll be able to come in before the show ends. But if not, I'll continue to hold this thing down along with you guys. So let's keep those comments coming in because we're still talking about this week's matchup against Cincinnati. So, like William just pointed out, they got the big receiver T. Higgins, first round pick from Clemson. He's been killing it this year. Like we talk about CeeDee Lamb, we talk about Justin Jefferson. T. Higgins is almost like right there under them and slowly moving his way up. He's going to be a huge problem for whoever has to guard him, especially in the vertical offense they try to run. Bobby McLean, I know you remember Lambo just started a new job. So I think he had to work a little bit of overtime. and he's got the 4 kids, so he has to do a little family duty when he comes home. And I think he's kind of trying to take care of the family, put the kids to bed, stuff like that. And then if he's able to do that in time, he'll hop in. So hopefully he'll be able to join us before we get out of here. Yeah, and Mendoza talks about Alden Tate. Alden Tate, I don't know if he's really been pushed more to a fourth receiver or has he taken over for AJ Green, because their third receiver, who's probably their best receiver right now, is Tyler Boyd in the slot. Now, this guy's explosive, great route runner, a vertical guy in the slot, which, as you guys know, those guys are the ones that give us the most problems when we play against them. So, Jordan Lewis and Anthony Brown are really going to have their work cut out for them, trying to guard a guy like that. And then, like Mendoza talks about, you got Alden Tate, who can come in as well and be a big body guy who can stretch the field and make big plays. So to me, this game is really going to come down to, can we stop the big play against Cincy? Now, you hope that because they have their backup quarterback in, that maybe he's not on the same page as the receivers. But these guys are so talented, it doesn't take much for them to be able to put the ball up there and let them go get it. Now, the next key matchup I want to talk about is their secondary versus our receivers. Now, it's almost the same as us with them. They have 3 receivers. They have William Jackson, former first round pick, never lived up to the hype. And then they have another Clemson guy, Mackenzie Alexander, came from Minnesota, got kind of buried on the roster there, finally got a chance to show himself. And he hasn't really been playing well this year. And then they got another guy named Darius Phillips, who's playing outside, just a guy, really nothing special. So our receivers have a really good chance to take advantage of some matchups with their corners. Now, where the problems come in at is at safety, because Cincinnati, to me, has probably a top 5 safety group with Jesse Bates and what's the other guy's name? Is it Von Bell? Yeah, they have Von Bell, former Ohio State Buckeye from New Orleans. I really like their safeties, especially Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates came out in 2018. I don't know if you guys remember him. I was very high on Jesse Bates. Dennis, thank you for joining us as always. We appreciate your support. Jesse Bates was a guy that I really wanted us to take that draft over Connor Williams. I talked about this quite a bit the past couple of weeks. We keep drafting strong safeties and converting them to free, and we keep drafting corners and converting them to free. We don't draft true free safeties. Jesse Bates is one of those true free safeties that we should have taken. The kid was a ball hawk in college, and he's averaged at least 3 interceptions every year he's been in the league. I think this year he has 4 interceptions already, but the last 2 years he's gotten 3 interceptions a year. Yeah, and you know I'm a Clemson fan, so you know I watched him at Wake Forest quite a bit too. But yeah, this kid, he plays deep, he doesn't get tricked, and he breaks on the ball well. So if we try to go deep a lot, this is a guy we have to watch out for. Von Bell, he makes a lot of impact plays in terms of big hits and knocking the ball out, stuff like that. So their safeties are really going to provide impact in this game. But I think based off of what I've seen this week, we have some good matchups against their corners. So those are pretty much all the Cincinnati matchups I have. Now, in terms of Dallas, we got to talk about this one because our offensive line, like I said, has been playing pretty good the past 2 weeks. And now we get a very weak Cincinnati Bengals defensive line. I know you guys don't follow Cincinnati, but I was kind of reading up on them, and I realized that Geno Atkins is no longer the starter. they're actually replacing him with Christian Covington. And I know you guys know that name because he played for Dallas last year, the guy we got from Houston. He's actually the starting D tackle in Cincinnati alongside, I believe, Mike Daniels, who's like 35 years old at this point. Of course, you guys know they traded away their best defensive end to Seattle. I don't think they have a player on their defensive line with more than 4 sacks. I think only 2 people on the defensive line have sacks in total. So there's not a strong pass rush in Cincinnati. And like I said before, our offensive line has been playing well. Cincinnati is very susceptible to the run with their defensive line. Yep. Thanks for backing me up on that, Mendoza. But yeah, their defensive line is very susceptible to the run. And our offensive line did a good job opening holes up this week. So I expect to see us have a good game on the ground with Zeke and Tony Pollard, as well as being able to pass the ball a little bit without planning on getting a lot of pressure. So I'm very looking forward to seeing that. And the other thing that's going to be a key matchup this week is our defensive line versus their offensive line. So their offensive line is very good. And Sam Hubbard's okay. I mean, to me, he's just a guy. Nothing special. Try hard guy. Just to me, the best that they have available. But yeah, they do have Logan Wilson as well. That's a good point. But I don't think anybody on the team has more than 4 sacks. They don't have a lot of pass rush on their team. And I believe that's Carl Lawson on the opposite side that has the 4 sacks. I think nobody else has more than 1. So yeah, talking about our defensive line versus their offensive line. Our defensive line has some advantages if we take advantage of them. First of all, William Coulter talked about this before about Randy Gregory not playing. This is a game Randy Gregory needs to get a lot of snaps in because Cincinnati's left tackle is a 6th-round rookie. And he hasn't been playing well. So this is definitely a situation where our pass rushers have the advantage. And their right tackle is Bobby Hart. And if you guys have watched have watched Chicago at any time over the past 5 or 6 years, you guys know what Bobby Hart brings as a right tackle. So D-Law should have his way with him. Yeah, we should be able to rattle him with even just going front 4 against their best 5. Giovanni Bernard is not known for his pass blocking skills. So there are definitely some opportunities there. None of their quarterbacks are mobile. So hopefully we take that out of the equation as well. And it's going to be a pretty cold game. I don't think it's going to be inclement weather, but it is going to be cold. And cold games are always defensive games up front. And I feel like we definitely got some advantages with us versus their offensive line. And I also want to talk about just our linebackers because LVE had a bad game, and we talked about that before. To me, this is the type of game where he should be able to out-quarterback their quarterback and make up for the transgressions of last night. We can't let them come in here and bully us and not play the right assignments and get outsmarted on simple plays. That's a good question, Jeff. Why does he have to have his way against lesser talent? Well, he doesn't really have his way against lesser talent. I'm just hoping he does. And that's one of the problems with what's going on with this team. There's nobody who's really accountable. There's nobody who's stepping up to me. And you just hope when they play lesser talent that they step up. And you ask, how do I feel about Xavier Woods? Great question. Xavier Woods is a below average player. I was on Stargame last night, and Nick's kept saying he thinks we have the 35th worst safety group in the league, and there are only 32 teams. It's funny, but I almost agree with him. Like, I'm pretty sure there are some teams out there whose backups are better than our starters, especially with Darian Thompson. Xavier Woods makes boneheaded plays. He's always out of position. If you go back and watch the game last night, there were several of those big runs where the safeties, in particular Woods, was supposed to come up and fill that gap. And I don't know what read they made, but they completely missed it. Woods is another example of, like I said earlier in the show, us drafting nickel backers and converting them to safeties instead of drafting safeties. And I know people talk about, well, Woods was such a playmaker in college and he looked so great and he was causing turnovers. What happened? He played safety in college, but he didn't start at safety. He was mainly a nickelback guy. And if you really go back and watch Woods in college, he made a lot of his plays playing nickelback. So when you put him at free safety and he's not good at that position full time, you get what you get now. If something were to happen and they put him as a big nickel like he was his rookie year, I think we would see a better Woods, but that just won't happen because they gave him the job from day one and they never gave him any competition for it. Now, my biggest fear is we come back in 2021 and the salary cap is low and we got all these free agents. And Xavier Woods is sitting there and nobody's biting on him, which is probably going to be expected. And they reach out to him and say, you know what, Woods, would you come back for a 3-year deal at $2.5 million a year? And he says, yeah, I'll do it. And then we're right back where we are now. That's my biggest concern. I think that they're going to do the Anthony Brown thing where they give him a below market deal. He comes back and takes it. And now we're stuck with him at free safety. And Mendoza, I agree. Reggie Robinson should have played last night. After the Darian Thompson bonehead playing zone, everybody else is playing man, and then the horrible pass interference against the tight end when the ball was 50 yards over his head. At that point, you got to be like, you know what? Robinson can't be worse than this. Well, I say this every week, it sounds like. But I don't know what our coaches are thinking and why they are campaigning for the guys they campaign for. So hopefully this will be the week we finally see Reggie Robinson. I know we say it every week, but hopefully this will be the week. Maybe Darian Thompson can't play or they finally get some more snaps in for him, but we'll see. All right, so that's pretty much all I have for the key matchups in this game. Guys, again, thank you for all your comments. I appreciate you with all your support. And you guys been breaking great comments so far, but now it's time for you to really get in those comments and let me know what you think. And we are about to go into our game predictions.
Game prediction.
All right, guys. So everybody who's still here, make sure to give me your game predictions in the comments so I can take a note of them and keep track of everything. Like I said before, talking about the key matchups, you guys can pretty much see. I think this is a winnable game for us. It's funny when we did this in the preseason, I actually had this as a game we would lose even before all the injuries and all the bad coaching moves and things like that. Preseason, I thought this would be a game we would lose. But even looking at this team now and looking at the matchups, I think it's a winnable game. I think Cincinnati right now looks a lot like Minnesota did a couple weeks ago, except Minnesota has better running back and better quarterback. They don't have a lot of pass rush. Their secondary suspect. Their offensive line is not good. but they have explosive receivers who can get down the field, just like Minnesota. So I think we played Minnesota. It was 31-27. I'm looking for a game very similar to that. I don't think we're going to stop them from getting their money. So I think they're going to score, but I think they can't stop us either. Um, Offense looked pretty good this week. Hopefully, Zeke has gotten over the fumbles. It looks like the offensive skill players are a little bit more locked in. So I'm hoping no turnovers happen outside of a fluke tip ball. I'm also hoping the guys rally around Andy Dalton going back home for his game. So I feel like they're going to be playing at their best. So I'm looking at Dallas 34 and Cincinnati 30. I don't think there's any way we're going to stop them from scoring multiple touchdowns in the air. I think we'll be able to shut them down a couple times for field goals. This is going to lead into my bold prediction, but I think we score quite a few touchdowns this game. Bobby McLean going with the Bengals. 17-21. Yeah, Danny, the Cowboys are playing at Cincy this week. I checked the weather forecast. There's no snow. There's no rain. It's not supposed to be windy, which is surprising for Cincinnati this time of year. But the temperature is going to be about, I think it said 29 degrees. So it's not going to be a game where the weather will have an impact, but it's going to be a cold game. Now, for a team that plays in a dome, I guess you can say that may have some type of impact. But in terms of inclement weather, it shouldn't be a problem. All right, 24-21. Lamar has 30-21. All right, Jeff, I got yours 34-20. All right, Danny, let me get your score. I appreciate the comments, but let me get your score for this week. Yeah, Bobby, you're right. They don't play well in cold weather. I mean, we're a Texas team playing in a dome, so we rarely play in bad weather, and when we do, it kind of shows. But you hope having a quarterback who's played in Cincy all that time, he can help level those things out. Jack, great point. This is the third place game. So technically you can consider this a win-win either way. Either we win the game or we lose and we get a sole possession of the third pick in the Sewell sweepstakes. Danny, is that 25-17 Dallas or Cincy? Last time we were in Cincy was the week Jerry Brown passed. Brent. I don't know if he's still on the staff. I like that one better. Suck for Sewell. Rosie, 34-27. All right, Danny, I got you down for Cincy. I mean for Dallas. I got that. Yeah, Jeff, I knew he meant Josh Brent. I was just trying to look it up to see if Josh Brent was still on the staff. That was a good thing to see, though, William. I'm almost excited to see how they treat their offseason and how we treat ours. Yep, they lost their first pick, so that should make a difference. But they have a lot of talent. I don't want to take anything from them offensively. I feel like we have some definite opportunities this game. So I'm hoping our defense can step up. The run shouldn't, I hate to say this, but the run shouldn't be as big of a issue as it has in the past. But we'll see. All right. Before I get out of here, I'll do the phone lines for about 10 minutes, see if anybody wants to call in and talk about anything Cowboy related. So the phone lines are open. If anybody wants to call in for a minute, I'll stay on for about 10 or 15 more minutes. Try to keep the phone calls to 3 minutes if possible, if anybody calls in. Yeah, they're definitely stuck with them. Well, Jack, it's going to be even more interesting who they're able to cut to get under the cap, because they have so many big contracts on their salary cap. In order to save money, a lot of their guys will have to be June 1 cuts, but because the team has to be under the cap day one, they can't even get to that point. Some of those contracts are so bad they can't even trade them. So it's going to be some very aggressive salary cap moves made in Cincy. Yeah, we definitely need to step it up, Danny. Yep, definitely screwed. And Mendoza says it's funny when you look at it. Dallas didn't want to pay Dak because of fear of what Philly is dealing with now. And then Philly is regretting paying Wentz, wishing they were still in the Cowboys position. That's definitely true. That's definitely true. And speaking of that, did you see Stephen Jones regurgitating his same old story about they wanted to sign Dak, but they want to basically do it at the amount of years they want to do it at, and that was the hold up in the contract? And I know we talked about this in the offseason, but if their issue is they want to do a 4-year deal, well, we just lost 1 year. So does that mean when Dak comes back, they only want to do a 3-year deal? I mean, I'm sorry. They say they want to do a 5-year deal, and Dak wants 4. Well, now we've lost a year. So when we come back, does that mean, okay, now we're going to do the 4-year deal because technically we've already done 1 of 5? Or are they going to still stay on that 5-year deal rhetoric? So it's just confusing with how they talk. Oh, I see we got a phone call coming in. Hold on 1 second. All right, 909, you're on the air.
What's up with you, man? It's your boy West Coast, man. How you feeling tonight, man?
Oh, West Coast, what's going on, man?
Good, man. I was just listening to the show, and she thought I'd call in and talk a little Cowboy talk with you, man. But man, to be honest with you, one thing I know about Jerry Jones is this, man. Jerry Jones is one of my favorite verses in the Bible is let your yeses mean yes and let your no's be no's. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And one thing about Jerry Jones, when it comes to certain things, like Jerry knows what he's doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then there's certain things where he doesn't. And I mean, keep it real with you, I don't really think Jerry Jones or Stephen Jones really know what they want to do with Dak Prescott. I think every day the wind blows, the situation changes so aggressively that he has to step back and be like, well, damn, we got to change our mind. Because, like, think about this. They probably thought one way about Dak, but then Deshaun Watson got paid.
Yeah.
You know, and then think about this. They probably thought some way about Dak 2 years ago, but then Jared Goff and Carson Wentz got paid.
Right.
And it's like, I think Jerry Jones feels like he's always had to make decisions on Dak before he was ready to. You know what I'm saying?
And the scale keeps sliding.
Like what Philadelphia did. Like, go ahead, sir.
I was just saying, and he keeps saying it, but then the scale keeps sliding.
Exactly. So it's like you standing in front of a house and you're like, yo, I want to buy this house, but let me come back tomorrow. I'm going to talk about it with my wife. Right. And then you come back and the market already went up. So now you're like, man, I don't want to spend that for that.
Right.
But you're like,
but you got to have a house.
You though. Exactly. You got to live somewhere though. So then he takes you and he shows you another one and he keeps doing the exact same thing. And what Jerry Jones is really chasing, bro, he's chasing a deal. And the deal is not going to happen because the deal already happened. The deal happened. You saved money from 2016 to 2019.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Dak's fault that you didn't maximize it by winning a Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Now Jerry is trying to chase some deal in his mind that he thinks exists.
Yep.
But think about this. Just last year, man, Jerry Jones was basically saying, 2 years ago, I'm not going to pay him $27 million. Now you're okay with giving him 35, but you won't give him 38. It's not about the money.
Right.
It's about Jerry Jones in his mind feeling that he got a deal. Just like with Zeke, just like with Jalen Smith, just like with DeMarcus Lawrence, just like with Zach Martin. He always feels like he got the deal.
Mm-hmm.
Just like with Anthony Brown. Anthony Brown's on a 3-year deal, but it's really, if you look at it, it's really a one-year deal.
Right.
Like it's really Amari Cooper's deal is really it's a 5-year deal, but it's really a 2-year deal.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Same thing with Jalen Smith. Jalen Smith's deal is really a 2-year deal. You know what I'm saying? So Jerry feels like he's won. The problem with Dak Prescott, and I call him Dakimus Prescott, is because he's a gladiator, man. He's a freaking gladiator, man. He'd be out there defying the whole empire. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So Dakimus, Dak. The thing about Dak is there ain't no winning in this contract. You got to pay him. There's no winning.
Mm-hmm.
And Jerry needs to just understand that you already won on this kid. Because guess like this. Think about this. We could have been paying Philadelphia's already at $80 million. If Carson Wentz walks away right now, they have $80 million invested in his pocket that they'll never get back.
Yep.
$80 million worth of Philadelphia's hard-earned cash. Marcus, do you know how much money the Cowboys have technically given Dak Prescott in the last 5 years? $34 million. And
right.
Guess what? 31 of it came in 1 year.
Yep.
So you already won. You already won. Now it's just about, honestly, doing the right thing for your business. Because the longer you prolong it, you're hurting yourself. Because your check is going to be, you're writing the check. So now it's just about Jerry, just write the check now. It's like the numbers say, and everybody outside the country, outside of that are looking in and saying the exact same thing. Jerry, just write the check now. That was just kind of my little crazy thoughts, man, on that Dak Prescott contract, man.
All right. So while I got you here, look into your crystal ball and tell me what you think happens this offseason. Is it another franchise? Do they come together with a deal? Is there a trade somewhere and Dak agrees to it? What do you think happens?
I gotta stop saying this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I'm a conspiracy theorist, right? So I gotta stop saying it. My people, my subs say stop saying that, West Coast, but I gotta say it.
But you got the inside scoop too. So is it really conspiracy?
What I really think is happening. This is what I think is happening, right? Have you ever wanted someone to do something? You wanted someone to do something, but you think in your mind they won't do it. So you start hinting to something else. I think the Cowboys really, and I think what they're going to do, they're build, because right now you can't talk to Dak.
Right.
You can't talk to him at all. So the only thing they can do is just talk to the media. So I think they're telling Dak Prescott, we're going to franchise tag, and we're going to franchise tag because guess what? The circumstances around Dak changed when he got injured.
Mm-hmm.
Because think about this, a healthy Dak, hell yeah, I'll play on a second franchise tag. It's $42 million.
Yeah.
But a guy who just broke his leg is not going to be inclined to sign a 1-year deal. An agent shouldn't even, if you're an agent and you have a client who just broke his leg, you should not be telling him to sign a 1-year deal. Because what if his leg hurts?
Exactly.
People be like, what do you mean, what if his leg hurts? What if he goes to practice and then he's running and it hurts really bad? But it's healed. It just hurts really bad.
Yeah.
What if he goes through that? What if he goes through drop foot like Jalen Smith? What if he goes through that? You're not going to want to put that type of stress on your back, right? So guess what, Marcus? When's the best time to sell someone life insurance? Right after someone dies.
Mm-hmm. That's when it's on their mind the most.
This is what I think exactly, because before the when you're a healthy person, the franchise tag is, man, give me that guaranteed money. I'll take it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But when you get hurt, you're like, whoa, that's only 1 year deal. What if I really only can't play? Because Dak knows in his head, even though I'm be off schedule, bro, when I start running and stuff, what if? The what ifs.
Yeah.
What if I'm like Deshaun Watson? What if I don't have this, what if I just have an average season when I come back off injury? And then the second year is when I start coming back and winning and doing all this other stuff. So if you're Dak, honestly, bro, I think Dak wants a long-term deal now. You should want one. Because you're gonna need something built in. So what I think the Cowboys are really gonna do, bro, I think the Cowboys are talking all this franchise tag so that they can, the day he's available, Jerry Jones is gonna come to Dak Prescott and say, hey, you know what? The whole world has been saying we should franchise tag you, Dak, but this is what I'm gonna do, Dak, because I believe in you, Dak, and I don't think you should be on a 1 year deal, Dak. This is what I think you should do. I think you should sign that same deal you turned down last year. And that's what Jerry's gonna do. And you know what Dak Prescott's gonna do? He's gonna sign it, bro. And it's gonna be over.
So you think
And
Dak
we're
is
gonna
going to
go
give in and do
play
a 5-year deal?
Yes, I do believe he is. And to be honest with you, bro, like if I was Dak Prescott, I would actually be telling him to do it. Because like the injury, you don't know. Like I want to believe that Dak is the gun. I want to believe it. But I also believe that Dak has also earned the right to not have to do that again. And as your agent, it is my job to protect your interests. And to be honest with you, Dak, business-wise, it does not make sense to go play on a franchise tag again. And think about this, Marcus, right?
Yeah.
Which is worse? What do you think is worse to Jerry Jones? To have your quarterback get hurt making $31.2 million or to have your quarterback getting hurt making $39 million on a 1 year deal?
Exactly.
Like, which one is worse? Jerry Jones would be a fool to think to do that again. Like you would be a fool because think about this: you basically paid Dak Prescott $31 million for 4 games.
Right.
So he won. Dak won. Like no matter what anybody can say, Dak won because he only had to go to work for 4 days and he got $31 million. So yes, he broke his leg, but technically Dak he won. You know what I'm saying?
And at the end of the day,
in my opinion,
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no. I was just saying, bro, at the end of the like the same thing you're going to say. I think they're going to do the exact same thing insurance agents do when they go visit people who just had a death in the family. I think he's going to go out there and beat that drum, bro. Like, yo, he's going to say exact same thing I just told you, Dak, man. Why would you want to take a chance of playing on a 1 year? Why would you want to do that? And I'm going to tell you this, Marcus, that's why it's so important that Andy Dalton plays right now, too. Mm-hmm. It's so important that he plays right now. Because if Dak is not ready, you don't want to be trying to figure out who's going to be your quarterback next year. You don't want that. Because you know Dak will be ready at some point next year. But what if he's not ready week 1, 2, 3, and 4? You want a guy that can win you some games.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so – that's why you're not going to see another – look, Andy's going to be your quarterback for the rest of the year.
Oh, I agree with that.
Like, he's going to be your quarterback next year. But I mean, that's what I was gonna. That's all I was saying. I think at the end of the day, I think he's gonna end up signing whatever deal that they offered him last year. He's gonna sign it this year, and it'll be out of desperation. But I mean, I don't say I hate it for Dak because you still got paid $31 million, so he won.
Right.
But I think he should sign it. Like I wouldn't want. I got too much love for Dak, man. And like I really think that I will literally like cry if he was to get hurt on a second franchise tag, bro. Like I would just cry.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, for the second time.
Yeah.
And then think about this. Why would you give him $41 million and you know your salary cap is going to go down? We really can't afford a franchise tag next year.
That's true.
Because the salary cap's going to go down to 175. So it's like you're tying up way more money. Like financially, it makes more sense for the Cowboys to get a deal done. And for Dak, it makes more sense for him to sign a longer deal because if you do suck your first year, it's okay. You got 4 more years behind you. And we'll just let Andy Dalton play like till week 8. We're not tripping. Yeah. Just take your time, Dak.
And no matter what deal he signs,
that's what you want.
It's at the end of the day, it's a 3-year deal. Like I don't care if it's 8 years. It's a 3-year deal no matter what he signs anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And think about this. You can do that. Like Dax, I'm like, man, Dax agent's not really good, bro. Like,
He can't be.
Good. He's not really good. Because, bro, he could have made this so that everybody could have won. You know what I'm saying? He could have made this so he could have did a deal like Amari Cooper. But also, I'm gonna tell you this: Bud Dupree, the linebacker from Pittsburgh that got hurt. That's also one of Dax. That's also one of Dax agent's clients who was on a franchise tag that got hurt. So his agent has hit. Like I'm just saying, it's not looking good over there in their camp.
Yeah.
But his agent, I think, just exact same thing you said right now. He could write like Patrick Mahomes. You could have gave him a 12-year deal, and it would have sounded. But when you look at the fine print, you would have been like, wait. When you look at Patrick Mahomes' deal, you'd be like, wait. So you telling me he really only given $175 million? Yes.
Yep.
Yes. They're really only on the hook for like 175. That's a regular contract.
Right. And at any point in time, they can agree to part ways after like 3 years.
At any point, my life, and they said if he found the product better than Nike, that he could use it, and Nike would literally buy the company out and would replace it with that product. Like that's the type of mindset the Cowboys need to be on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's what the Cowboys need to be on. Like, where it's replace or do whatever you got to buy by any means. But I mean, I do believe that Dak. I think they are going to get it taken care of. It's like, man, like right now, Dak will make you the comeback story of a Dak Prescott coming back in 2021 is going to make Jerry so much more money. Like the jerseys are going to be like Dak was already a top selling jersey. When he comes back next year, it's going to be even more selling. Yep. Like you want that money because the NFL doesn't touch that money. That's all your revenue. And you want that comeback money. You want that great comeback story. You want that to happen in a Dallas Cowboy uniform.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, you know what I mean? Like we saw what Dak Prescott did in 2016 on when it comes to marketing dollars. You know what I'm saying? You want that same thing. You're about to have that next year. You want to have that in a Cowboy uniform. So I think they're going to get it done.
All right.
I think they're going to get it done. Mine is 38 million times 4, whatever that is. That's where I think he's going to end up.
Okay.
Keep it real.
Yeah. All right, man. I appreciate you coming in and dropping some knowledge on us. I got one of the fans, Mendoza. I don't know if you know the name, but he calls in. He calls in on everybody's show. Very knowledgeable guy. And we know you got the inside scoop on Jalen. So if you don't want to answer this, you don't have to. But he wanted to know, do you think Jalen takes a pay cut next year?
No. The reason being is because Jalen is already underpaid.
That's true.
And you know what's crazy? You got to, as a fan, we have higher expectations than the NFL. Because like if you ask of anybody, like two people that get so much hate, but they're loved in the NFL, Jalen Smith and Dak Prescott. The only people who hate Jalen Smith and Dak Prescott are Cowboy fans. That's factual. Bro, there's nobody in the NFL saying the number 6 linebacker in the NFL is horrible. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then if they do say he's bad, they have enough common sense to be like, okay, so Jalen Smith he misses 15 tackles. Okay, say he missed 15 tackles. If you get rid of him, who makes the 86 tackles that he did make?
When he's playing 100% of the snaps. This.
And, oh my God, that's the real reason why I call on your show, because I mess with you, bro. Your sword is ridiculous. Because I was about to say the exact same thing. Jalen Smith is the only defensive player and probably offensive player. No, because I don't think Zeke missed a game. He's the only player on your team, bro, that hasn't missed a game.
And he
like Jalen hasn't missed a game since he came back.
And he consistently plays 100% of the snaps. Every snap he plays, he's out there on defense. Every snap, bro. And you think about this, it's like, if I'm Jalen Smith, you know what I say? I'm not going to take a pay cut. And then you're going to say, okay, if you don't take a pay cut, we're going to release you. And then Jalen Smith's going to say, okay, I'm going to go to a team and get paid even more money. Want to know why? Because Jalen Smith right now is the 17th highest paid linebacker. We're not even saying player. Think about this. Do we, as bad as some people may think Jalen Smith is, can you really name 16 linebackers that are better than Jalen Smith in the NFL? Like, let's just be real. You can't. Because there's not. So Jalen Smith is already the 17th highest paid linebacker. So he's technically already underpaid. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, why would you go ask him to take a? They're not gonna, bro. He makes $12 million. He's gonna make $12 million last year, right? Next year.
Mhm.
Tyrone Crawford made $9.18 million this year. Did they ask him to take a cut?
He
Who does
didn't.
more for your team,
Yeah.
Tyrone Crawford or Jalen Smith? Like, they didn't ask him to take a cut. Like, everybody was begging. Why don't we just cut him and save the money? You know what the Cowboys said? Nah, we'll just pay him.
Yep.
Once that money's spent, Jerry's not tripping. That Jalen Smith's money spent.
Yeah.
And then my last question is this: when was the last time we cut a player we drafted on a second-year extension because of production? We don't do that.
No.
Well, we're mad because we won't cut people.
That's true.
Jalen Smith will retire a Dallas Cowboy. Like, Jalen Smith will retire a Dallas Cowboy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's just, the thing about Jalen Smith and your linebackers, man, is you just got to get your front better. That's just like, instead of like, the Dallas Cowboys don't need a complete overhaul. We need tweaks. You know what I'm saying? We need tweaks. That's why I say people need to stop talking about drafting quarterbacks and stuff like that. That's a complete overhaul.
Yeah.
Like, if you're drafting another quarterback or talking about that, man, you're talking about winning the Super Bowl in like 2023.
Yeah.
And that's why the last time I tell you, Mark, that's why I always tell people, like, whenever you talk this Cowboy talk, I always tell people, like, you got to really ask people this question. Like, when you're talking Cowboy talk, when are your hopes of winning a Super Bowl? Because if your hopes of winning a Super Bowl are within the next 5 years, then our conversations could be different. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be totally different. Like, I'm talking about winning a Super Bowl next year. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And if I can get in the playoffs this year, I'm going to be talking about winning a Super Bowl this year.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But, hey, man, I appreciate you for having me on, man.
Man.
I talked that Cowboy talk all night, man.
Thank you for
I
calling.
clog your ears up, man.
Yeah, you good? I saw you go live right before I went live, so I'm shocked you got off because you normally go a couple hours when I see you on.
Man, I was on there chopping it up, and then I went in there to eat, and then I was, man, I just like listening to Cowboy talk, man. So, what I'm saying, I was listening to your show, and I heard your last calling, and I know how you feel about, Dak Prescott. So I was like, man, I'm about to call in here and chop it up with my boy for a minute. You know what I'm saying?
Well, man, I definitely appreciate you coming in and giving me a few minutes. You definitely dropped some knowledge on us.
Absolutely. Hey, something I'm gonna tell you something real quick, right? And it's something we got to think about. Player evaluation, right?
Okay.
Player evaluation, right? Good example. The kicker. Cowboys. We have had problems with the kicker for almost 5 years with that specific position. That is player evaluation. I'm gonna tell you this little history real quick, and I'm gonna go fast. Okay, you have Dan Bailey you sign Dan Bailey to a contract. He gets hurt 2 years into that contract, right? You release him because he's making $4 million a year, right?
Yep.
You release him for a guy in camp named Brett Mayer. Brett Mayer misses 11 out of 17 kicks. So you can already admit that going from Bailey to Mayer was a mistake, right?
Yep.
Okay, now think about this. You fixed the mistake by getting Kai Farbass, right? Kyle Farbass makes 7 out of 9 kicks. You correct your mistake. He makes 7 out of 9 kicks. And then you cut him in the offseason without a preseason for a guy who missed his last kick for another team.
And you pay him $3 million a year.
And you pay him more than all the other 3 dudes. And then think about this, $3 million, you could have just stuck with Dan Bailey. He would have been cheaper to now. But the whole thing of what I say is, like, think about this. The coaching staff has changed. You've had new special teams coaches coming in there. So what is who is evaluating these players? What is the one common denominator? Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, bro.
Yeah.
They made a decision on a kicker because surely 100% on the price. And it had nothing to do with him kicking.
You're right.
And so that's why I say, like, bro, when I see stuff like that, it makes me hard to believe that you guys want to add 15. We have like 10 picks in this draft. Y'all want to add 10 brand new babies on a team who can't even pick kickers, bro.
That's a good point.
Like, that's why I say just get free agents, because it's easier on us. Like, we can't even pick kickers.
Yeah.
And we still have a kicker problem.
Still have one. Yeah.
Like, think about this. We're going to have a new kicker next year.
Oh, for sure.
We'll have a new kicker next year.
We saved $2 million if we cut
You know what I'm saying?
Greg Zuerlein in the offseason, so he's gone.
Yeah. Cowboys are going to, I mean, and the thing about it is, like, I think the only reason why we even got Greg the leg is because he was connected to John Fossil.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, all those fake plays that they like doing, you couldn't have just got some random kicker to do that. Like, you need a guy that's been with you.
Yeah.
And think about this. Freaking Greg Zuerlein has 17 pass attempts as a kicker in his career. So you know what that means? That's 17 times he's tried a fake punt. Because when else would he be throwing it?
Right.
When else would he be throwing it? So, bro, like, that's what they do. You know what I'm saying? We don't need to do that no more.
Hopefully we don't see
Like,
it.
we don't need to do that no more. But I just feel like this. If it's at the point of no return, man, when you're doing special teams and you're trying to win off of trick plays, bro, you're in a very bad place, bro. That's considered, when I ain't trying to be vague or anything like that, but in my team we used to say, bro, that's mom stripping on the pole. You know what I'm saying? That's mom back stripping. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what we would say. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what my defensive coordinator say when we play teams that do a lot of trick plays. He's like, yeah, mom is back stripping. You know what I'm saying? Like, because, like, bro, you are desperate.
Yeah.
Like, you are desperate when you're trying an abundance of trick plays. Like, you are trying any and everything. So mom's back stripping.
Trying to pay the rent.
So we've got to get out that mentality, man. Yeah, it's trying to play the rent. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say we ain't tanking. We just ain't losing. I mean, we just ain't winning.
Right.
But these guys understand, and all these trick plays let me know that, Fossil also knows that, guess what? At the end of this year, if we don't get this thing together, then guess what? There might be some changes. And I also think that's why Mike McCarthy, people be wondering, why does Mike McCarthy let these plays happen? It's because Mike McCarthy knows that, shoot, if they don't get it popping, that some of these guys that he brought in are going to lose their jobs. So that's why I think he's more inclined to let Fossil try some dumb stuff on 4th and 10.
That's a good point. Never thought about that.
Like, he's trying to look out for his boy. It's called nepotism, brother.
Yeah.
We got to get it out of Dallas. That's my whole show was on that.
Yeah.
Like, nepotism is great when you celebrate, but it sucks when you got to fire somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But hey, man, have me on one day, man. I'm always ready to talk some Cowboy noise.
Whenever. I know you always going, so it's hard to catch you when you're not on by yourself, but definitely. I got you down, man.
You know
I got your number.
Yeah. All right, brother. Hey, you be blessed, man. I appreciate you having me on, man.
All right, man.
Bless and love, man. Let's beat Cincinnati.
All right, man.
All right.
All right, talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys. Well, for those of you who stuck with us, that was West Coast himself coming in and dropping some knowledge on us for a few minutes about his thoughts on the team. So, like I said before, I was going to keep the phone lines open for about 5 minutes. West Coast came in and gave us about 15 minutes, and I'm a little bit over from what I normally do. So we're going to hit this last segment, and I'm going to get out of here. But before we go, got to get the last segment in because I know it's another fan favorite. So let's get you guys back in these comments again and hit me with your bold predictions for this week.
Bold predictions.
All right, guys. So bold predictions for this week. For me, like I've been saying all show, I feel like this is a coming home game for Andy Dalton. Hopefully the team has a little bit more juice behind them. Hopefully Dalton's a little bit more fired up. Hopefully they want to play for him to make sure he does well and then we win this game going back home. So for my bold prediction, I'm seeing Andy Dalton throw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. So guys, before we go, we'll stay for another 5 minutes. Everybody who's still left, make sure you get back in the comments and hit me with your bold prediction for this game. All right, I see we got about 12 people still left. So everybody who's still here, Be sure to get back in the comments. Let me know what your bold prediction is for this game. William Coulter says score a defensive touchdown. Okay. Jeff says, now you mean on kick return, right, Jeff? We'll also do bold prediction again this Sunday. It doesn't look like Brandon will be able to join us this week, but he will definitely be here this Sunday. So guys, be sure to come back where we'll have the full duo for the Cowboy Zone coming back talking about that. Zeke 200 rushing yards. Bobby McLean 2 Lamb TDs. Okay, Mendoza says shut out Cincy. All right, Raphael Govan, thank you for joining us. Lamb 150 and 2 TDs. All right, I see I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 6. I think I got 7 people still watching right now, so that may be everybody. See if I missed anybody coming through. Colonel Bill, if you're still here, be sure to let me know what your bold prediction is for this game. And also, you didn't give me a game prediction either. I read right past that, William. So yeah, looks like that might be it. But I didn't get a chance to get any of you guys calls in today, so I'll be sure we'll take the last 15 to 20 minutes or so this Sunday and open the phone lines back up again so I can hear from you guys. Once again, thank you guys for rocking with me tonight. Looks like I went through the whole show solo. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me. I appreciate you guys sticking with me the whole show. Appreciate your support. Appreciate all the great comments you provided. Also, shouts out to West Coast for joining us tonight on the phone lines. And before I go, I want to give a big ups to the homie Boss Cowboy. He came on the show this summer, and he was telling us about he was going to put his own podcast together to talk about Cowboy sports. If you guys follow West Coast, which I know all of us do, you see Boss Cowboy on the show with him quite a bit. Boss Cowboy is also a regular with Big Game James. Very knowledgeable guy. Probably one of the few people I trust in terms of college scouting outside of a guy like a Brian Broaddus. Well, he now just started his own podcast officially. So he had his first show tonight. So I just want to say a big ups to him. And if you guys haven't found him already, make sure you go to Boss Cowboy Sports and check out his podcast as well. It's all love between all those podcasters. You see West Coast went live earlier today. He found a few minutes to come in and chat with me. We're always going back and forth with each other, and we always want to tell everybody to support. Make sure you go find West Coast as well if you haven't. So until then, let me hit you guys with my social media. So you guys can find me on Facebook, Bluff City Cowboys. Make sure you go like the page. Also, go find me on Instagram at Bluff City Cowboys. Go follow that page as well. Find me on Twitter at Bluff Cowboys. And also go find me on YouTube. I'm still stuck at 100. I'm trying to hit that next level. So my goal is to try to get to 500. If you guys haven't done so already, make sure you go on YouTube, type in Bluff City Cowboys, hit that subscribe button, and hit that bell so that you can subscribe to my YouTube page. It's pretty stagnant right now, but once the season gets closer to the end, you guys know I'm a big draft guy, so I'll be doing a lot of draft analysis. I'll be putting together some big boards. I'll also be putting together some videos on some of my favorite players at key positions. Not only guys that I think will take, but guys that I just like in general. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. This is Marcus Jones. I'll see you guys this Sunday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time for our pregame show of the Cowboy Zone. So you guys take care and have a good rest of your week.